Good morning. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. How's everyone today? Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. All right. Let me get some speed here. I just got on the treadmill. Good morning, Lisa. How are you? Fresh start. Welcome in. Copper Rose is here. Thanks for joining. Fuzzy Bug and Prism House. Thanks for all your purchases last night. Good morning. Peaches, this and that. Welcome in. Sherry Crow is here. All right. So what? Jen's here. Cindy's here. Jasmine's here. So I redid a couple of the documents that I usually share. So I just wanted to point out this one. Oops, my fingers aren't working. So if you need to set up the envelope shipping, so if you have thin, flat giveaways that you want to do so that you can utilize the cheaper shipping for yourself to do giveaways, you do have to send it in a paper envelope and use the sticker category, which is under arts and handmade. And you have to use shipping weight of 0 to 1 ounce. And then it will allow you to use the envelope shipping. You do have to turn it on in your shipping settings as well. This guide that I just pinned on your screen shows you shows you the steps you need to take to set that up. You can also send stuff up to 3 ounces if it's still flat and can still go in a paper envelope. So less than 1/4 of an inch thick, flat, not lumpy bumpy, has to be flexible because it goes through their machines. So it has to be machinable. So if you need help setting that up, follow these steps. Make sure when you toggle on the option to do letter, USPS, first class mail letter, when you toggle that on in your shipping settings, make sure you check the little box at the bottom to update it to your existing shows so that it will be enabled in your existing shows as well. Because if you don't do that step and then you think you have it set up, if it's not, if it's not marked in current shows, then it will still not apply. It will only apply for any new shows you schedule after you change the setting. So make sure you click that little box. All right, any questions about that? Just take a screenshot of that by tapping the picture, tap it again, make it big, take a screenshot, and you'll have that envelope shipping guide for the future. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Dana, aka Draz. Oh, you are so welcome. That reminds me, I'm going to send you a little message because there are some special receiving the package requirements on that package, and I'll explain, but you may have gotten a message about it anyway, so you'll need to follow the tracking on it. So I will message you about that this morning. Welcome in Cowgirl and Tally and Barbara's Craft Room and Tammy. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. So this is my walk and talk that I do every Tuesday morning. I also do it on Thursday mornings. And I just come live and help other sellers who need help getting started, getting set up, looking for information, etc. So if you are a newer seller or you're thinking about selling, I can try and help you get started. So feel free to read the show notes and ask things with a question mark. So Megan says, I know you're not selling any fabric right now, but I'm in desperate need of some small ribbon breast cancer fabrics. Do you know if you have any? Yeah, weren't you in my show last night? The only thing that I know I have is some of that vinyl, and I haven't had a chance to go look yet. So send me a message and I'll remember to go look if that would be suitable for you. It would be something you could make keychains out of. So yeah, that's the only thing I know of that I have. But if anyone in chat has some, please feel free to reach out to Megan if you happen to have any breast cancer fabric. I know I've had some in the past, but I don't currently have any. So how much do you need? Um, let's see. Fresh Start Farm Fabric says she has a yard. And if no one has any and it's needed, there you go. Reach out to Fresh Start and see if you can make that happen. Yellowstone says she has some as well. There you go. It's coming out of the woodwork. So yeah, reach out to those people or you guys message Megan. There you go. All right. We do have an In Search Of group here on Whatnot, but because of they limit how many people you can have in the group. So, it's just a bunch of us that were kind of the original group here selling fabric that are on that group. So it's kind of limited. And we can't add any new people. But we also have, if you're on Facebook, go join the Facebook group that is called Whatnot Made Me Do It. Someone write that in chat for me. Whatnot Made Me Do It. And it's a group it's run by a non-seller. So it's, just whoever, and everybody just shares the stuff they make. But you can also post stuff like, I need this kind of fabric. And then anyone that might have it that's a seller can respond and help you out. So the Whatnot Made Me Do It Facebook group. Thank you, Tiff. All right, so that's another resource to remember. So take a screenshot of that if you need to remember. And anyone that's a seller or a buyer on Whatnot is welcome to join that group. Welcome in, Patricia and Mila. Welcome, everybody. So, what questions do you have about selling on Whatnot? If you're thinking about it or you're already set up, I know quite a few of you are already set up to sell. And if you're just a buyer, we love you and you're always welcome to hang out in my seller chats. But we talk shop. So if that bores you, go shop for fabric instead. I'm not offended. So we're just kind of chatting about whatever. And, if you have any tips for sellers or some ideas for sellers, I'm happy to have you shout those out in chat as well. So thanks for joining. We have grown exponentially in this category. When I first started selling on Whatnot, I was one of about 4 or 5 people selling fabric on the entire app. So if you can picture that, you would come on and there would maybe be 1 or 2 shows selling fabric in an entire day. So let's see. Tiff says, I started following your YouTube a few days ago and have been taking good notes in a notebook. Awesome. Yeah. So in the show notes, the second paragraph has my YouTube account. So if you miss any of these chats or you're newer and want to go back and review some of them, probably the best ones would be the ones that have a specific title. besides just walk and talk, because those we talk about a specific topic and they would be the most helpful. Um, all right, Dory asks, how or where do we get paid? So after you complete a show, then and you ship it, then you go into Seller Hub under the finances button. And when you're new, you have to wait until the packages deliver. And then you go under finances and it will show you the amount of money that's in your account and you can cash it out. And when you signed up for Whatnot, you had to sign up with Stripe and it's linked to your bank account and you cash out and it will deposit that money into your bank account. So it's just under Seller Hub finances. And then it will take you into a screen that will show you at the amount of money that is in your account. So after you ship, there is a waiting period when you're new for you to be able to access that money. Either it shows delivered or it's been long enough. I don't remember what the exact time frame is, but I think it's like 2 weeks. Then it drops into your account. Once you've hit 1,000 sales, you don't know about Stripe. So are you already approved to sell? So you need to check your emails from Whatnot because you have to have Stripe set up. You have to have an account set up before you can do shows. So if you haven't gone through that process, then you're not going to get paid. So you need to check all your emails. You should have an email from Whatnot telling you need to link your account through Stripe. And it does a verification process where it does that little thing where it deposits a tiny amount of money and then you have to verify your account. So yeah, go check for that. Make sure that you're getting your emails from Whatnot. They email you on the email address that you used as your email in your account. And then if you don't check, thank you for the raid, Hip Chick. If you don't check, it may be going to junk or spam and you don't realize it. And you need to go get those and tell it to not put those in spam. Hip Chick rated. Let's pull her profile up. Here is Hip Chick, who is Maxine. And I love her backdrop. It's so cute. And she sells colorful clothes, high quality thrifted designer brands, including Farm Rio, Johnny Was, Ralph Lauren Men's, and they live in New York. And she has a show today at 1:30. Boho and other items. Random pulls on the 19th. Can everyone please give her a follow and bookmark those upcoming shows? Thank you so much, Hip Chick, who is Maxine. Welcome in. All right. So this is my seller chat. So we're talking about all things selling. So if you have questions, please put them in chat with a question mark so they show up in bold. Please take a screenshot of the show notes. There's a lot of information in there, especially those starred bullets. Those starred bullets are the official places that you go to get help on Whatnot. Besides coming to shows like this, you need to go to all of those things and make sure you know what's out there for you, the resources for you as a seller. So make sure you have a screenshot of those starred bullets that are in the show notes. And then in my auction tab, so when you click on the shop, and then it usually defaults you to the buy it now, but switch to the auction tab, and all those documents that I have in there, or all the listings I have in there, are just documents for you to take screenshots of. Some of them I have in there that I use to point things out. But almost all of them are just informational things that you can take a screenshot of. So make sure you go through my auction tab. Sometimes I'll have one pinned, like right now I have the envelope shipping pinned. Am I going to the Austin meetup? Yes, I am. Are you going, hip chick? So welcome in everybody. Thanks for joining. Oh, awesome. So I'll have to try, and I don't know what their schedule is like, but I'm hoping that we have, a little bit of free time and that we can maybe arrange for everybody that's in the fabric category to kind of, meet up somewhere. And you're not in fabric, but, I'm hoping that for those of you who are, is anyone else planning on going? So 25th. So on the 24th, they're having a party. Oh, I didn't know about that. Where did you read about that? Who's having a party? So on the night before? Yeah, it would be fun if we could go live. They're having classes and speakers. I know that. So I don't know the format exactly. It says, if you read, it says, if you arrive early on the 24th, we're having a get together. Oh, so I need to read that. How to find out about this. So if you are a seller, they aren't sending that invitation to anyone that's a brand new seller because it's geared more for people who've already been selling to help them level up. So I don't know what their criteria was, but they sent an email invitation to anyone, whatever their criteria was. And then you could sign up and buy tickets. So yeah, it's like an all day event where they're going to do classes and stuff. Yeah, so you wouldn't have gotten one because you're not selling yet. Yeah. So, yep. And I think if you were newer than a certain time or had only sold X amount or less, then you wouldn't have gotten an invitation. Not because, they don't appreciate you, but because this is a summit that is geared for existing sellers to help them learn how to grow, on Whatnot, versus they aren't going to have new seller content to help new sellers. So, yeah. So, yep, that's in Austin on the 25th of April. Yes, we will come back and help you. So, that's what I do. I do these seller chats, and I'm part of the community support team with Whatnot. What that means is that I'm part of a group of sellers that Whatnot invited to be part of a team where we host a seller chat at least once a month that is on a specific topic that Whatnot chooses and asks us to address. So they look at trends, they look at things that are happening, and if they want us to do a certain topic, we talk about that certain topic. So I did a show last Wednesday evening, and that was our monthly topic show, and we talked about show preparation and setup. So if you missed that one, go to the my YouTube channel, and rewatch that show. Did they announce the UPS thing? I haven't seen it yet. So, and they didn't say anything. Did anyone watch? Did they actually have a show on the 4th that was an update show? Because I don't know, somehow I got my days mixed up and missed if they had actually had one. Did anyone see that on the Whatnot seller account? Tiffin says, I really love the fabric and maker community, so giving and loving. Yes, we have an amazing community here on Whatnot in the fabric sewing craft community. Just amazing sellers, great buyers. We don't have a lot of the icky drama that goes on in some of the other categories. So we're really blessed. I feel very blessed to be part of this community on Whatnot. So yeah, it's a good place to be. Welcome in Jayla and Golden Tate. So this is my seller chat, walk and talk. All people are welcome, but this is geared for sellers. And so I have this show scheduled in the fabric category right now just because that's what I sell in, and I, cater my seller help to the people in the fabric quilting, sewing, crafting community. But everyone is welcome to come and join. And if you need help with any seller tips, please put a question in the chat with a question mark, and I will try and guide you to where you can get the help and information for that. So welcome in everybody. So yeah, I don't, it's sounding like from, because I've never had anyone say they actually had that show on the 4th. So they haven't done an update to the platform type show on the Whatnot Seller account in a while. They keep bumping it. Right now, the community support team is in Las Vegas at the ASD Market show. They have a Whatnot booth there. So I think they're kind of tied up with that. That was something I thought about going to. I signed up for a badge, but then I looked at it and I was like, they really don't have any booths, any sellers there representing fabric craft. And so I just didn't feel like it would, I felt like I would just go there and be tempted to buy things I don't need. So that I don't sell. Yeah, it's more of a, other types of merchandise show. But they did have a fabric show in Las Vegas too, but it was a 1-day event. And I would have maybe liked to go to that, but it just didn't happen. So, yeah. All right. If a buyer asks for a refund, does that affect our rating? Ultimately, it can. And if you're newer, it affects you more than a seasoned seller. But it only really affects you if it's a trend. So one, cancellation or refund isn't going to hurt you in the long run if you have enough sales. So I know it's kind of frustrating, but it does affect your health if you have a lot of them. So, because then it shows a trend, people aren't happy with something about what you're doing if there's a trend and you have lots of people asking for refunds, so, or cancellations. So make sure that if there is anything you're doing that could possibly, maybe you aren't packing and shipping them quickly, maybe you didn't disclose what something looked like, felt like, smelled like, I don't know. Make sure that you're accurately representing everything you sell. You're describing the size. You've got to describe where it came from. And please, please, please do not sell fabric. Or if you do, disclose the heck out of it and say it over and over that has any bad smells. Because people, if they get it and you didn't disclose that, they're going to want a refund. So if it smells like smoke, if it smells like mildew, if it smells moldy or has a really strong, it's been in someone's basement in a state like Mississippi for 20 years and has some really icky smell, don't sell it at all or disclose the heck out of it so that everybody knows exactly what they're buying. Because you will get refund requests if it has any bad smells that you didn't disclose up front. All right, so really make sure that you accurately represent what you're selling. That's super important in any category. If you're selling clothes, if you're selling fabric, if you're selling, even other types of things like artwork or I don't know about glass if it might, but almost anything can soak up bad smells. And if they get their package and it smells like an ashtray or something, they're not going to be thrilled about it. So always be careful about those. In that scenario, would you recommend washing fabric before selling? Even washing it is not going to fully get that smell out. But yeah, you could, but then you need to disclose that it's been washed because most people who buy fabric want to know if it's in, unused, unwashed condition. So if you wash it, then you would need to disclose that it's been washed. Especially cottons will shrink when they're washed, and so then it's going to be a more narrow width than previous. So yeah. With large orders, can we use the large priority of boxes instead of the smaller large flat rate? You can if you have your shipping settings set the correct way. And the large priority box would be for the problem with that box is that if you go over 5 pounds, which if you're using it for the sake because you need more space, it's usually going to be an order over 5 pounds. And usually everybody's settings is for over 5 pounds ground advantage, not priority. So you can only use a priority box if your label is a priority label. So if it's over 5 pounds and your setting is for 1 to 5 pounds priority and 5 pounds and over ground advantage, which is the cheaper rate for over 5 pounds, then you're not going to be able to use that larger priority box. Does that make sense? Because the label has to match the box. So if you look at this document in my auction tab right here, take a screenshot of this. It's important to understand how the Postal Service works. So tap that picture that I just pinned, tap it again, take a screenshot of this. It's a little visual chart that Blazing Bunny put together. She's a seller on the Community Sport team. And it shows you the type of package you can use with the type of label. So yeah, so you got to make sure those match up. So usually if someone buys too much that won't fit in a flat rate box, then you're usually flipping it to turning flat rate off and changing it to your own box and sending it ground advantage. So yeah. All right. Yes, that is a helpful little chart because it's hard for people who don't understand. If you haven't sold on another platform before that used the Postal Service, or they had a different way of, doing their shipping where it was all kind of more automated than whatnots, then you kind of have to go, retrain your brain for how this all works. So make sure you study the shipping well because that's one of the biggest things that trips up new sellers is they're all excited to get going and they start selling and they didn't have their shipping settings set up correctly, and then they're all messed up because they're trying to ship and it costs them a bunch of money and they just get off on the wrong foot. So make sure you understand shipping before you do a lot of shows so that you understand how it's going to work. I would recommend doing a private show that you invite friends and family who do not live in your house to come on the show and tell you things like, does your lighting look good? Can they hear you? And then actually go through the process of running some auctions because it is a live show. It's just private, and sell some things so that you can do the fulfillment process and make sure you understand how shipping works. But they can't live in your own house because if it shows that you have people buying from your IP address, that's not allowed. Because then it's, that it's considered a no-no to have family and friends bidding from your same household. So it's got to be someone who's not in your house on your same IP address. Which brings up another point. Be really careful when you sign up to sell that you don't have multiple accounts selling from your same IP address, because that's considered all the same seller, because they track it by IP address. So if you happen to have a spouse, a sibling, or not a sibling, a child, or somebody who else who is selling, and you're all using the same internet IP address, you need to notify Whatnot so that they know that there's multiple accounts on that IP. And as a seller, you personally are not allowed to have multiple selling accounts unless you notify them and they give you permission. So you can have a separate buyer account, but you can't have more than one seller account without permission. And that has tripped some people up, because if you have multiple people selling and one of the persons does some things that are against terms of service or doesn't ship their items timely or whatever, it can affect your account as well. You can get shut down if someone using your IP address is not a responsible seller. So be very careful about how you set it up and who's, using your IP address in your same household. Welcome in. Please read the show notes. If you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark so they show up in bold. Let me make sure I didn't miss any. All right, looks like we got them all so far. So thank you so much for being here. Take a screenshot of all those show notes so you have my YouTube account, so you have all those star bullet links that you can go to get help on Whatnot. So if you're a newer seller, make sure you go through the Seller Academy. Seller Academy is it's like a little school tutorial where you can go and learn how to use the app. And it is the third starred bullet in there. So selleracademy.whatnot.com. Go there, go through all the tutorials. It's just a real basic, walks you through how to start selling. So make sure you go and use that. Do you use two devices when going live, like your phone and a computer? Yes. So I'm fortunate. My husband actually helps me with shows. So we actually have 3 to 4 devices up at any time. So I use my phone that I'm using here to stream to stream the show, and then I usually have a computer laptop that I use that is in view while I'm running the show. My husband uses another phone to monitor chat, and then we have even an additional iPhone if I need it to pull things up to show people or to run the show if the computer gets weird, because sometimes the web version on the computer freezes, and it was doing that to me last night. So yeah. And the way that you use multiple devices is that you open the show on all the devices that you're going to use. You just open it, but then you only go live from the device that you're going to stream from. So the camera phone, or if a few people use an iPad, I don't recommend using anything but a phone unless you have highly updated, newest software and device, because cameras have the best, or sorry, phones have the best camera over an iPad or a laptop almost exclusively. So use the phone usually as your camera. All right. You're welcome. And yeah, you might want to go to my YouTube channel and rewatch the show that we did last Wednesday evening. It is a show that was titled, let me show you just really quick on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, and the way that you find my YouTube account, you type in use the ampersand, Draz on Whatnot, because if you use the ampersand, you're going to find it a lot faster. So it's that one right there, @Draz on Whatnot. So type it in just that way. And then this is my account with that same logo that I use. And then when you're in there, you can see that I'm live. I multicast onto YouTube. So I'm live on YouTube right now. And then if you go to the lives from the menu, the show that we did last Wednesday is this one, Backstage Pass Show Setup and Production. So that's the one that you would want to rewatch because we talked about all the different things to help you get started setting up a show, running a show, all the equipment, different tips from other sellers, all that kind of stuff. So go there and rewatch that. And then the document that I shared in that show is in my shop. So let me show you that document. It is titled Whatnot Show Preparation Checklist. So I just pinned it. So you can just tap that picture, tap it again, take a screenshot. This is a 2-page document. So Whatnot Show Preparation Checklist. It literally is a checklist. You can just go right down that list and it helps you just really, okay, do I have this ready? Do I have this ready? Is this set up? What do I need to do about this? And you can check it all off. And then the second page is during the show checklist. And then there's a post show checklist. So just kind of helps you really think through and make sure you have everything ready. So you are welcome. Hey, Foxy Mama, how are you today? So welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm Dana, aka Draz. This is one of my seller chats where I come on. I'm walking on my treadmill while I chat with you and hopefully help you with things you need to learn about selling. And you're free to ask questions and just put them in chat with a question mark. And anyone that's not a seller is also welcome to hang out, but we're talking shop. So if you'd rather shop for fabric, I'm not offended. Go shop fabric instead of talking shop. No offense. How do you set up coupons? So coupons are in Seller Hub under marketing. So go to Seller Hub marketing and there's a drop down menu under marketing for coupons. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You just go in there, you give it a name, tell it whether you want it to be $1 off or a percentage off. And then you do have to assign the coupon to the shows that you want it to be valid in. And then you share the coupon code that you created, like in your show notes, or you can send it with packages for future use, but you have to assign it to shows. So anytime you want people to be able to use that code, you have to make sure that it is assigned to be valid to the show, and it'll show you in there where to do that. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Just go to Seller Hub marketing on the drop down menu in marketing, and there is a coupon section. Open that up and kind of just go through that. And yeah, there's just a couple of drop down menus as you're setting it up to set those settings. And I usually, if I have a coupon, I usually put it in my show notes, and then people can read the show notes and then put it in their wallet. You can make a coupon clickable if for iPhone users by putting it in with a, if you look it up in seller help, it shows you, you can type it in with using HTML. So you put a backslash, you type the word coupon, backslash, and then type the coupon code itself, and then it will be this little clickable icon in your show notes for iPhone users. It's not one that's been set up for an Android yet. But either way, it will show in your show notes as the code. People will know they can then put it in their wallet. And you can do coupons that are for everybody, or you can also do coupons that are just for new buyers. And if you specify that when you set it up, then only people who've never bought from you before can use it. And it is a nice little incentive you can use if you want to do a new buyer coupon to incentivize new buyers to make a purchase. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. And let me know if you have questions about that. What all happens with multicast? So when you multicast, oh, it wasn't working for you. Yeah, if you have Android, it'll still, you can still put the code in the show notes. It's just not clickable. Yeah. Multicasting, you can multicast onto Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You just have to set it up before you go live, and you have to have a certain number of subscribers on YouTube and Facebook for it to be able to connect, and you do have to connect it. It's in the drop down menu before you push go live. So I can show you really quick. Let me just minimize the show. So I would go into a different show that I have scheduled, and I'll just show you. So here's my show I have scheduled for later today. And when you press start show, see how there's these things here for YouTube and Facebook, because I already have them set up. If you don't already have them set up, you click underneath edit or edit streaming options, and it will take you to a menu where you can connect those. It's not a bad idea to go watch a YouTube video about how to set those up. If you just go into frequently asked questions and type in multicasting, they have a little video in there. And because it's kind of glitchy sometimes to get it to connect and set up. And then DArchivist has a YouTube video about it that will help you as well. I actually had to watch hers and get it all set up correctly because there's some settings in YouTube and some settings for Facebook that make it so you have to do certain things in their settings before it will connect. And then when you're multicasting, people can actually see you live on Facebook or on YouTube. And, you know, it's only really useful if you have a following already. And I get the most traction, honestly, from Facebook because I have a bigger following on Facebook. But I do use YouTube because then people can rewatch my seller chats. So, but I get more people joining the lives or finding me on Facebook than I do on YouTube because I wasn't already a big YouTuber before I started doing Whatnot. So you just have to kind of decide if it's worth it for you to multicast. It's, you know, it's not really going to help you in a huge way if you don't already have a decent following on the social platforms. But you can definitely set it up as you're building. Doesn't hurt. Can't hurt, that's for sure. Welcome in. Please read the show notes. And if you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark so they show up in bold and I don't miss them, hopefully. Let me check and make sure I didn't miss any. Yeah, looks like we're good. All right, so let me show you. Oh, I mentioned the archivist. Let me tag her. She does a lot of really good videos on YouTube about different techie kind of things because she's kind of that way. She's very good with the technical type stuff. So I just tagged her. So if you're not following her, give her a follow. And she does seller chats as well. And again, has a YouTube where she has a lot of video content for whatnot. And you can get help with, just general stuff, but also a lot of the technical stuff. She can teach you how to use OBS software if you want to learn how to connect through an OBS software to run your shows. It gives you a lot more flexibility with camera angles, with technical, so not technical, more graphics and other things that you can do, and allows you to split screens and do other fancy stuff. So you can, use OBS if you want to go down that road. Welcome in, Tally. I haven't ever felt like it was enough of a benefit to try and learn it. And I've heard that it can be pretty glitchy depending on what software you use. So I haven't really felt like it was worth it. A lot of the shows that are in more techie categories use it a lot. So if you go into a show where, like the electronics shows or the card shows, they almost all use OBS and they show, different windows showing different things and, have special effects in their shows and stuff. So they're using OBS software. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. If you have questions, put them in chat with a question mark. This is my seller chat. I'm actually walking on the treadmill while I chat with you. And I just help people learn things they might need to know about selling and whatnot. And I I have this show scheduled under the fabric quilting sewing category. So you may be wondering why. Well, because that's the category I sell in. So I do like to run these shows sometimes in that category rather than just community, so that the sellers who are in that category can come in and ask questions and they see it in their feed. When I put it under community, I get a more general audience, which is fine as well because I like to help all types of sellers. But since I sell in this category, my advice and my, things that I talk about are geared more towards the fabric sewing community. So welcome in. Hey, Grandshine, how are you today? Welcome in. So if you have any questions or comments, I just recently redid the envelope shipping guide. I was showing that earlier. So if you have that, this one's much easier to read and look at if you need to know how to set up envelopes, envelope shipping. Let's see. This one, the 5 F's for attracting buyers, I think is one of my most useful things that I've created. It just really helps sellers to focus in on what's most important for you to be able to be doing to help you grow your business. So make sure you have a copy of this one that I have pinned, the 5 F's for attracting and keeping buyers. And just review it every once in a while and make sure you're doing all these things and that you're constantly looking for ways to improve your process, improve your shows so that you can have consistent growth. And one of the things that I talk about frequently is goals. It's super important for you to understand what it is you're wanting to achieve as a seller on this platform. Because people, if it's just, I'm a reseller and I want to try out Whatnot, that's great. But what's your goal? If you don't have a specific goal, then you kind of flail and you don't really know how to have achievable things that you're meeting regularly to help you have consistent growth. It's super important to write down what is your goal on being here. If you're on here because you want to sell, then you have a need or a want, and it could be as simple as I need to make enough money to support my buying habits. It could be that simple. Well, what is that amount of money? Write it down. And then you need to make sure your shows are scheduled frequently enough and that you're doing enough things to make that happen so that you're making enough money to support what you want to turn around and then spend. It could be that simple. Maybe it's I need to make X amount of money every month to supplement my existing income so that I can pay my bills. Write it down. What is that amount that you need? And then your shows need to reflect the effort you're putting in to make that happen. So write it down, have a goal, make it happen by doing achievable things to work towards that goal every month or every week or whatever you want it to be. Okay. So, because I think sellers who don't have a specific goal in mind just kind of flail around and then they get frustrated because they don't feel like they are, working towards something and achieving it. So always have a goal written down and work towards those goals. And then you can always change them and you can always have stretch goals. So if you have a certain amount you want to make in a week and then you achieve that and you want to push yourself or you have time or you met that goal faster than you thought, then have a stretch goal. And having that will help you see your progress. So, anyone have any ideas about that or examples of what you've done that made a difference for you? Welcome in Hannah and CQ and Texas County and Stephanie and Dominique. So I'm Dana Draz. This is a seller chat show. If you have questions, you can put them in chat with a question mark. Please read the show notes. And if you're a seller struggling, new, trying to get started, I do this show every Tuesday and Thursday mornings. I walk on my treadmill while I chat with you, get my exercise in while I help other sellers. So any questions, just put them in chat. Let me show in the show notes. Make sure you have a copy of the show notes because there's a lot of information in there. There's 6 different starred bullets that are official places that you can go for Whatnot help or content. So make sure you have a screenshot of those 6 starred bullets. And the first one is the Whatnot seller account. I'm going to go there and look because I want to see what they have scheduled on there right now because they do shows on that account. And they do seller interviews. They also do new seller tutorial type content. And they also do shows about updates. Tomorrow, there is a show called Show Production Quality Best Practices tomorrow at noon. So you might want to have that one bookmarked. Hey, Lily Lane. They have it scheduled under football cards, but that's just because they schedule those under whatever category. They switch them up from time to time. So that will be a show content for new sellers, talking about show production and practices. And then on the 1st of April, they have a show scheduled for new product updates and features. Hopefully, they'll have that show. They'll tell us some of the new updates that they're going to be, they've either released or coming up. And then let's see, we've got seller best practices interview scheduled on the 15th. They have not announced who the guest will be. And then on the 22nd, they are going to be interviewing Isley, who is the social media whatnot person. So she works for Whatnot. Market like a pro, grow your Whatnot business. So that would be a good one to make sure you have bookmarked as well. So I'm just on the Whatnot seller account. It's an account just like yours. Is an account under at Whatnot Sellers, and they do content shows on that account that you can go and watch. And if you don't participate live, you can re-watch them on the YouTube account, which is the second start bullet in my show notes. So in the show notes, second start bullet is go to at Whatnot app on YouTube. So if you missed any of those live shows, you can go re-watch them. And good morning to you as well, Lily Lane. All right, it's quiet today. Nobody has any more questions, things you need help with, things you want to talk about. Almost no topic is prohibited unless it is against terms of service to talk about, but I'm willing to talk about just about anything. So if you have questions or want to share or chat about something, go ahead. Thanks for joining. I scheduled this under fabric and the fabric category today. You probably already did this, but can I see how your shipping is set up? Sure. So Sunray, do you sell in fabric craft category? Okay. So my shipping settings, are you new enough that you don't have the ability to do the reduced shipping? That's my next question. Okay, so then mine are going to look different than yours because I can do that. But let me show you what yours are going to look like. So under Seller Hub, shipping, here is how my shipping settings are set up. I have that first class mail letter turned on. If you want to be able to do that, you can do that. Just use that. I'll pin again that envelope shipping guide that you can use those for giveaways, or if you have anything that can be mailed in an envelope that is sold, as long as it's under $20 value, you can also have some listings that are mailed in an envelope. Then under domestic 1 to 5 pounds, I use flat rate, and you can use that as well as a new seller. You just can't offer the reduced shipping. I do flat rate for 2 reasons. First reason is the packaging is free. So if anything over a pound, I can put in either the poly bubble mailers that they will ship to you for free, or I can use the small, medium, two different medium size boxes, or the large flat rate boxes. And it gives the buyer the best rate, $9.21 for anything over 1 pound. Then your over 5 pound setting, I also have set for flat rate because, again, over 5 pounds, if I can fit it all in a large or medium flat rate, they get the best rate. I get the free packaging. I also have my settings set for buyer pays max $9.21 in most shows. That's my default. If you're new, you don't have the ability to do that. It will just be default to buyer pays all, which is fine. All right, my second show, I did something wrong because I lost $100 in shipping. So my guess is that you had someone buy so much that you had to put it in a larger box. And if your box size for 1 to 5 pounds has to be less than 12 by 12 by 12. That's why that 12 by 12 by 12 is in there. Not that you're supposed to have a 12 by 12 by 12 box, but that your box can't be any bigger than that. So when you multiply that out, it equals 1,728 cubic inches. So it all fit in the large flat rate box. So did you select a flat rate box off the menu as the shipping choice? So there was something wrong. Yeah, definitely. If you had, so you selected flat rate, you printed it out and it said large flat rate on the label, right? Did you offer free shipping? Because I don't think you can even do that either. Because the default shipping settings are when you first start selling, if you don't go in and change anything, the default shipping settings are everything under a pound, ground advantage. Nobody can change that. That's the default for everybody. 1 to 5 pounds, it usually has priority set, not flat rate, but regular priority. And then 5 pounds and over, it's set for ground advantage. That's the default settings. Unless you go in and change it. If you had it set for flat rate, 1 to 5 pounds, and then ground advantage over 5 pounds, then the only thing it would maybe do is once they hit 5 pounds, it would unbundle it into separate orders if they went over 5. The possibility is maybe you had your weight incorrect. So double check how you have your listings, because maybe you put it as, maybe you thought you had it set for ounces or pounds and it was the other way around. Maybe you had like 100 pounds or something in there instead of ounces or something. I don't know. That's another scenario where I could think that it was, because it can only go based on what you put in there. So double check to make sure your listings all have the correct weight and that it's the correct type. So, because you can either do it by pounds, ounces, or metric system. So make sure you have it set correctly according to, what you thought it should be. Because that would be another thing that would trip you up, is if you have the wrong weights in there. Yeah, because if you had it set for 5 ounces and then it should have been pounds or something, then that would, be a mess. So you've got to have the right weight in your listings and the right weight on, when you pick the stuff off your shipping settings. So Yeah, just double check everything. And then if you change your shipping settings for a specific show, do it inside the actual show. Don't go change your shipping settings on your main profile and then click that box because it will update it to all the shows you have. Use the shipping settings inside the show. So go, if you want to do something different in a specific show, you open. So, like if I want to do something different in this show that I have scheduled today, I open the show, I click the three dots, I click edit show, and then you can scroll down to the shipping settings in that show and change them if you need to. See how it has shipping settings in there? And it's the same settings, it's just inside that specific show. And then I could change it in there. And then you would update it. And that way it's different than your set one. Do you recommend settings for pounds or ounces? It depends on, what type of items you sell and what makes sense to you. So, whichever one you do use, make sure it's consistent so you're not getting confused. I mean the if you're using their generic um range weights, those are set in ounces until you hit over a pound. And then over a pound, it's set, that way. But, just make sure you're consistent in whichever one you use. And you can use custom shipping profiles if you want to have more accuracy on more exact weights. Set up custom shipping profiles. So, like, I use a custom profile when I do fat quarters because a fat quarter is usually less than 3 ounces, but it's more than 1 ounce. And I don't want it to calculate for paper envelope. So I have a custom shipping profile I use that is exactly 2 ounces. And that allows them to buy 8 fat quarters before it goes over a pound. So if I'm selling fat quarters, I have it set as a custom shipping profile that I use that is just 2 ounces. That makes sense. Um, that way it doesn't add them up as quickly because I feel bad if I'm selling fat quarters and they buy just 4 fat quarters and then they're already at, well, if you use 1 to 3 ounce as your weight range for a fat quarter listing, then they would have to buy 5, would be 15 ounces, but then one more, 6 fat quarters. 6 fat quarters don't weigh a pound. So they've already hit their max shipping with just 6 fat quarters. So I have it set at 2 so they can get 8 before it hits a pound. Does that make sense? So, you just have to kind of think through the shipping and make sure you have it accurate as possible for the sake of the buyers as well as for you on the back end so that you don't get screwed with shipping. So, yeah, and I'm not sure what happened with yours. I'm guessing it was something like that where your weight was way off. And so it was calculating these horrendous sizes and weights. And you overpaid because those were outside of the allowances for what packages can be. So something was messed up for sure. Yeah. And it's not a bad idea to message customer service and ask them to review it so that you do, you at least know what mistakes you made. Ask them to review what your shipping settings were at so that you understand why it did what it did. So you don't make those mistakes again. Yeah. Because they can look and say, well, you had it set for this, and this is why, your package ended up costing you. So, yeah, because it's kind of hard after the fact But you should definitely go in and look at your listings, and maybe you'll be like, oh crap, that was set for, you know, 100 pounds or something. Because we also can make mistakes, you can accidentally typo something if you're setting, especially if you're setting up a custom shipping profile. Make sure those are all right. Yep. All right. Let's see. I was going to point out this document that is called Choosing Basic Shipping Settings. It's just a guide to kind of help you select your shipping settings based on what you sell. It does talk about reduced shipping in there, which new sellers can't offer. They have not come out and specifically said when new sellers are going to be able to offer reduced shipping. I think it's a seller specific, like when you've reached a certain plat or criteria, they will then turn it on for you. But they haven't said. I think it's case by case, because they were having so many problems with new sellers not knowing how to do their shipping, and then they were getting a lot of canceled orders or returns or other issues, and it was creating a customer service nightmare for them. So they turned off the reduced shipping so that new sellers would just have the default shipping settings and use those, because that's kind of the safest way to have everybody ship. So, but they can't control if you put your listings in, incorrectly, because the system can only, calculate shipping based on what you put in there. So if you put them in at the wrong weight, then, on the back end, when you go to ship, it's not going to be correct for what actually should be being used. So make sure it's accurate. And when you calculate your weight for an item, when you're listing an item or you're running random pulls, make sure you use a listing for weight that is going to cover the item and the packaging. So if it has to go in a box, if something that you're selling is going to have to go in a box, then you need to have the weight of the box calculated as part of the weight when you sell it. So those of us who sell fabric, it's a little bit less of a headache because, fabric can be put in a poly mailer or a box or whatever it's going to fit in and conform easily. You don't have to bubble wrap it. You don't have to add a bunch of paper. So for us, packaging is pretty simplistic. If it's under a pound, it just goes in a poly mailer. If it's over a pound, you can use either the priority or flat rate boxes. Mary says a new seller reused an old box and left the previous owner's shipping label on it. So my bundled box of items probably went there and they kept it. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, don't do that. If you're going to reuse a box, that's great, but don't leave an old shipping label on there because that definitely could screw things up. Yeah, not cool. And if you're going to reuse boxes, make sure it's in good condition and, there's no obvious issues with sending it in that box. And I encourage people to reuse boxes, but make sure they're in good enough condition to survive a second, third, fourth, whatever, how many times it's been reused. And definitely take off the previous label. That's not cool. So, yeah. Well, and if it was a whatnot shipment from the previous time, it probably went to someone who was like, yay, free box of fabric. Oh, that's not cool. So now they have to issue a refund. So Yeah. And you have to wait for it, but you'll get refunded. So, yeah. Because if you can show it never showed up, it will get refunded. Welcome in, Caitlin. All right. Anyone else have any other questions or things you want to talk about? Feel free to shout them out in chat. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions or things. Yeah, shipping is probably the biggest learning curve on here just because it's a different type of selling. Most platforms, if you've resold before, you just list an item and people usually buy one, maybe two items at a time. And shipping is pretty simplistic. But when you're running shows where there's the potential for people to buy one item or 50 items, you have no way of knowing that in advance. So you have to deal with the aftermath of whatever people buy. And so you have to make sure you understand how shipping works so that you don't have your shipping settings set in a way that it's going to create a nightmare for you if people buy a bunch. Because that's a good problem to have, but it is a problem if you don't have your shipping set up correctly. It showed as delivered to that other address weeks prior to me buying it. So I guess Whatnot thought it was a time traveler. Oh, because it was a Whatnot label. Yeah. So it tracked it under the other label. Ugh, what a mess. Yeah. Definitely take off any previous labels. That's ridiculous. Yeah, take care, you guys. Take care to make sure simple little things like that, that you don't make mistakes like that because that created, a nightmare for everybody because now the seller's probably going to have to refund. You're waiting to have them figure out what actually happened, track it, and, what happened with your label. Because obviously she put yours on there too, but they tracked it through the other one, which was a previous label, which is interesting to me that the post office would even do that because they should have seen that that was a used label already delivered, so kind of doesn't make sense that it got delivered again to a previous owner. Kind of crazy. Another tip I would have is please, please, please use the in-app scanner to scan your packages when you send them. So right before you go to the post office, scan, you go to Seller Hub Fulfillment, and if you have unfulfilled packages that need to be sent, it will have that little thing pop up. You click it, and then you just scan the label on all your packages. That is what starts the tracking. That is what Whatnot is telling you they use to grade you on your account health for shipping time. So make sure you're using that in-app scanner. Scan your packages right before you take them to the post office to drop them off. If you have someone picking up your packages, if you have the post office picking up, scan them before you put them out for pickup so that they're pre-scanned, and try and do it as close to the time that they're going to be picked up as possible. You can also still go to the counter if you want to, but going to the counter is still just a pre-scan unless you happen to have the main hub post office as the post office that you drop off at. Because if they scan it at the counter, it's still just a pre-scan to show it's been received. The actual tracking does not start until it reaches the main hub post office, where they then distribute out to the regional post offices. So that they're still Whatnot wants you to do that in app scanning. So use that You can print the scan sheets as well still, but they don't count that as accurate as the in-app scanning because it actually takes a picture of the package and lets the customer know that you have started the shipping process. So make sure you're using that because you want your scan rate, your shipping rate to be as low as possible to show people that you're a responsible seller who ships on time. Do you review people's profiles for advice? If not, sorry for this question. Meaning you want me to click on your profile and look at it? Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Do you want me to do that right now? I'm happy to do that. All right, let me click on you, give you a follow, view profile. Sunray is Maya and Nicole, mother-daughter duo. You have a nice picture, you have a nice backdrop. Your little, this is short and sweet, and honestly, that's good. It tells me that you sell together. One brings personality, one brings fabric. Join us for a little sunshine. Love it. And over time you may want to add a little bit to that, but don't get too wordy because people won't read it anyway. So I like that. You have 2 shows scheduled. I would do at least 10. You want bookmarks, right? So in order to get bookmarks, you have to have lots of shows. When people are in your show is when you are able to say, hey, if you like what you're seeing, if you like our shows, please go bookmark our upcoming shows. And if you only have 2, 2 is better than just the one you're in for sure. But you need to have a lot of shows scheduled so people can bookmark upcoming shows. And over the weeks, as those shows approach, you're going to get more and more bookmarks as they get closer. And every time you have a show, remind people to bookmark your upcoming shows. So, can everyone please give Sunray a follow and bookmark those 2 shows? And then before she has the show on the 28th, she's going to get 10 more shows in there, a minimum of 10 more shows, and then you'll have a bunch more to bookmark. Okay. So yes, and you do have a nice shop, and I like the picture you have on the 28th. Make sure that everything you have in that picture is actually going to be available for sale. I say that for a reason because I'm looking in that picture and I see a Care Bear panel. Trust me, people are going to ask for that. And if you don't have it, it makes people upset. So make sure every picture you share, and I'm assuming you have it. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying make sure anything you put on a cover for a show, if it's a real photograph, make sure you actually have that merchandise available in that show. Now, if someone comes in late in the show and asks for it and you say, oh, sorry, it already sold, oh, well, they didn't get there in time for it, right? But make sure you have it available in that show. So that's super important. Otherwise, use thumbnails that aren't merchandise specific if you don't want to have to show, exactly what you're going to sell. Yeah. Because that is that's a what's the right word for that I'm looking for? That's a hot point with buyers. They hate it when people put, something exciting on a cover of a thumbnail, and then they go into that show and they don't even have that stuff available. It was just like it was false advertising. So that kind of pisses people off. So yeah, always make sure you have what you're showing. But yeah, great start. I would say everything looks really good. Yeah, as far as I can tell, everything looks really good in your setup, And that would be my only recommendation, is to get some more shows scheduled. And you do have products listed so people can kind of get an idea of the fabric that you have. So that's good. So, and look, she has lots more Care Bears too. So that's fun. Yeah. I've had people asking for Care Bear. So, yeah, those are, if you have stuff like that you know is in demand, definitely get it pre-listed, because that will help you get more people in your shows and get more interest, because people will be looking for some specific, brands or character prints or things like that. So always pre-list those so that you can get some people coming in just for that reason. Yeah. You are so welcome. All right. I need to get going. So if anyone has any further questions, comments, things you need help with, shout them out. Otherwise, I'm going to go find someone to raid into. And I have a show this afternoon. We're going to be selling new Off the Bolt, Poppy Cotton, Riley Blake, and a few other things. So if you want to stop in, I always appreciate people coming to my shows as well. And thank you for being here. And if you like these shows, make sure you have my Tuesday, Thursday walk and talk chats bookmarked for future reference. And thank you. You are so welcome. Thank you for coming in, Lori. All right, let me find someone that we can raid into. Stick around for a minute, give someone some love. Raids are always a blessing. And make sure you always raid when you finish your shows. That's how you get a lot more followers and traction and get your name out there and show that you're part of the community. All right, so let's go raid into someone. Rolling Roads is live. Let's go raid Rolling Roads. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.